What's up? You are now listening to Americanized, a storytelling podcast where you will hear from eclectic first and second generation Americans share their stories and real life experiences as children of immigrants.
Hey Ken, welcome back to Americanized and part 2 of the Preteen Years with Marcus Higgs. Marcus is a communication coach for parents of preteens. In this episode, Marcus and Roslyn discuss the ways he supports parents in helping their preteens unveil their identities and potential through the frameworks used in his coaching. Stay tuned.
How did you transition from missionary work to being in a school, and then from a school to being a coach?
So the missionary work that I did, I was a Bible teacher in an English school.
Okay.
And so my day-to-day, day in and day out, was teaching language, conversational English. And on the weekends, we would hold services where we would get to know the students, and the students knew we were missionaries. This is nothing that we were hiding or anything like covert missionary work. And yeah, while doing it, I've always been sincere in my relationship with the divine or anything that I do, right? That's how you keep your integrity, just knowing that you're doing what you know to be is right. And in deeper conversations, I decided to transition out of that, but I loved the classroom. I loved communication. I really do love people. And I say, I don't love your kids as much as you do. So while I do love people, I was in the classroom doing the thing, enjoying it for what it's worth. There's another quality of life I wanted to live, and I looked at the skills that I had. And I want to be location independent, the world that we live in. If you could start a business where you can go wherever you want to go. When I say I don't love your kids as much as you, I'm thinking of ways in which I can leverage this. Like kids used to come to me, we used to have an awesome time for a year and they would move on. But it's just like, who would have a longer effect on the kid? At what age group? Where would I feel fulfilled in this work? And that's why I thought, I was piecing it all together. I did presence coach for a time, but like having to explain that was cumbersome. So I said, oh yeah, communication coach. Well, what do I communicate about? You communicate about how do you communicate at this specific age, figuring out what problems are at that place and how can you manage those problems. And yeah, that's how it felt like a natural progression. And eventually you want to look at your business, you want to look at your life that you're living as a sovereign being and be like, this is of my creation in collaboration with others. And I really feel good in this. Like you want to find your zone of genius where you rock. And I'm still using the skills of teaching, creating the context where learning can take place. I'm just teaching a different audience about something that's very, very relevant to them and relevant to me.
I find that this is where parents are probably the most, like having the most desire to connect with their teens and trying to figure them out, almost desperate for somebody like you, right?
I would say, yeah, they're apprehensive of what's going to come in the teenage years. Like, what do I expect? They know there are these years where they're going to get rebellious and do all the talk back and all the attitude and everything. And that's actually why I work with the age I do. It's to lay the groundwork of establishing trust. A stitch in time saves 9. So like, what can they do now that they can have that foundation of trust entering into the teen years? Because it will be shaken, it will be rattled, there will be miscommunication.
Absolutely, all the time, even as adults.
There's miscommunication. It's inherent in all communication. And that along with conflicts in all relationships, but the conflict doesn't define the relationship. What defines it is how we manage it. So how do we manage that? Yeah.
Exactly. It's a lot of managing for sure. So just exploring your website a bit, and I noticed you have these acronyms that I want to talk a little bit about. The ICE or ICE stressors in preteens. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. It's a wall of ice, I call it. And you're going to grow there's going to be some distance. And these are the challenges that teenagers usually go through. I is identity formation. So with these new expectations moving from dependent into independence, they're going to say, who am I? Life is constantly asking us, who are you? When my parents came to America, the question was, who are you? And then when you have a new kid, it's who are you? And then now, as you're going through midlife, who are you? And then when you reach elderhood, who are you? This is a constant life question. The second thing is C, collaborative. This is where skepticism sets in for us as humans. Because remember, what our parents were telling us was black and white, it was the gospel. And then we start to understand there are other perspectives in this world.
Mm-hmm.
As we start to experience other perspectives, and we don't know who to trust or what to trust. And that's why actually when we reach adolescence, middle teenage years, that's why they're so gung-ho about the truth. They're like, they don't know what nuance is yet, and nuance sets in about 18. So there's collaborative mistrust at this time. And then there's emotional management. It's your highs feel high, like I said, and your lows feel low. But what your emotions are, they do 5 things. One of them is they're an interface with the outside world of moving towards your desires and letting you know where you're safe and where you're not safe. Mm-hmm. So they're indicators of how you're navigating this outside world. And what your emotions do are indicators on the inside of your well-being. However, this is their first rodeo. This is the first time they're coming to this game. So there's mismanagement there. They don't have these skills yet. So that's the wall of ice. And because they have this wall of ice, that's why they may distance themselves. That's why they're looking for support groups and other peers and other groups. And that's why they're so awkward. But it's only awkward if you make it. And that's why they need support. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. I want to jump into the show up framework that you created. How did you create it and what is it? What is it all about?
So when you have that wall of ice, mm-hmm. I'm working with the parent to help them show up for their kid. And really what it is, it's transformational coaching with the thing that's most relevant to the parent, which is their child. S is it starts with a strong identity. You're looking at virtues and values that are with the parent. Like all cultures, all people have virtues and values. What virtues are from the 24 character strengths of VIA, Virtues in Action. This is from positive psychology. Things like creativity, leadership, and so on. Everybody has the 24 characteristics, but in different orders. And really what they are, it's just how we as humans connect with other humans and work towards a well-being for others and work for the well-being of ourselves. And then values are what we find important. For some people, it's finances. Other people, it's family. Some people, it's food. Just when you speak to a person's virtues and values, you're speaking to their identity. And when you figure it out for yourself, you know how to more easily navigate the world. Mm-hmm. So that's S. And if you go to my website, there's going to be a workshop on establishing this identity in a kid from a young age. H is hold space for collaborative problem solving. And oftentimes when kids are going through things, they think, what's wrong with me? Rather, it's life is life and you're going through growing pains. And how do you collaboratively work with them to solve this? O is opening up communication and the different tactics and strategies for that. And then W is wonder and explore this world together. And that's project-based learning or committing to something long-term that we're going to make an effort on that you get to choose. And then finally, UP, unveil your potential, means celebrating them in their identity. Whenever they're making an effort in their identity, celebrating it, and that reaffirms it. Yeah.
I like that a lot. I like how it's broken up and it's very manageable. And it just makes sense when you think about preteens and emphasizing identity. because that's the time to really form them and question them too. I'm
But yeah.
curious with O from your website, open up communication and passing on values without being preachy. How do you
Mhm.
feel, how do you feel like this ties in when you're working with maybe like immigrant families? If there are some values that they want to pass down, and how do you help them navigate that?
Sure, sure. We hold beliefs because of evidence and examples we've seen. There are certain beliefs that your parents have. Your parent may have wanted to pass these beliefs on to you, but you're just like, dude, I don't believe that. Or
Yeah.
like, that's not my lived experience.
Right, right.
Now, the way we share our beliefs without being preachy is by sharing our stories.
Hmm.
There's my father's book here called Barefoot to Boardroom.
Mm,
Yeah. He grew up from humble beginnings, meager means. And the way you do it is, first of all, when you share a story, make sure it's highly relevant. You're going to go through a bunch of stresses in your life, and you're looking for other people who have overcome this. So you're looking for biographies, you're looking in the news, you're looking at what you consume in media. Your parent has lived experience of immigrating to this country. They have other stressors, right?
hmm.
When they share this story of when it's relevant, when this story comes up inside you of, hey, this is why I believe what I believe. This is how I came over. This is what I tapped into. And I'm not, the way you do it without being preachy is by inviting the person into the conversation then of saying, okay, what are you getting from this? What are you taking away from this? They may present something that's new that you never even mentioned or that is a new perspective for you. Or they might say, you know what, I understand why you're like that. And then what you say is, look, I'm not saying you have to take this belief, but this is why I believe what I believe. And you reaffirm your own understanding. And like I said, no greater privilege than to be who you are. Like lean into that. Um, with an immigrant family, with a parent and a kid, it's you want your kid to think like you,
Hmm.
but you can't do that in life. Like you can't make anybody think like you. You can give them your perspective and you can let them know why you believe what you believe. There may be other underlying things in the communication as to why they may not be effective in communicating it. And we could explore that later on, but you share your story and you share why it's important to you and you invite them into the conversation.
I like that. That's a really interesting take. And thinking of, stereotypical immigrant parents, the why part is always like excluded, it seems like. There's a lot of
Why? What do you mean? Why? Why? What?
like why they're sharing a story or why they're telling you something or why they believe what they believe, why they value what they value, and why you should too. It's not, at least I can only speak from my experience, but I feel like I never got a why for anything. And I just assumed this is how things are, this is how, or what I should believe and how I should behave and what I should value. But that really, like I said earlier, actually, this kind of ties in. I was like, I never really questioned much. I'm very much a go with the flow person. And there's pros and cons to that. And I think this could be like one of those questionable moments where you're following along without really asking, but why?
Mm.
As me as a preteen. Now I question a lot, a lot of things. But before it was like, just like brainless, just following, adapting to their
Mm, mm.
beliefs, and it's a lot of, yeah, adapting.
I mean, you're living life. You're living life, and they're going to be different in like moments where you are going to be challenged, or you're going to be challenged with a question, or it might be curiosity. You want to explore with curiosity. Lisa Miller, she mentioned something that was very interesting. Heard it yesterday. We don't often go into a lot of critical thinking, and she said there should be five people at a table inside your head. The first one is a person who's looking for truth. The next person is the one who is um, I'm gonna mess this up because I didn't write it down. There's a person who's a mystic with like the beyond. There's an intuitive person who goes by feelings. There's another one in there I'm forgetting right now, but then the last one is the skeptic. Skeptic is a person who asks questions. Too often we put the skeptic at the door and we don't allow thoughts or ideas in because the skeptic is the bouncer. It's like, no, 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 no. Bring the idea and put it on the table and let all of us explore this so that we can get a better understanding of it. And you learn to do that with age. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's really good. I like that perspective, those five people in your head. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Marcus. Can you share where people can find you out in the world? And you're in the Bahamas, but in online, where can people find you?
MarcusHiggs.com. That's where it is. And I will have my workshop up there. It's a simple site, yet it's coming along. It's being built.
I liked your site. I like that you're scrolling through, you're reading, and then, you go to the next page and it's more information. It's like interactive. And I was like thinking to myself, like, I really like this website. I like how it's set up. And then you get to the
Yeah,
end
yeah,
and it's
cool.
like, book a call, connect
Well,
with me.
I'm gonna have my workshops there. So that's the book a call page is it's not gonna be there anymore. It's gonna be the workshop of identity
Okay,
because that's where it starts. It starts with a strong identity.
awesome. I will link your website in the show notes so everyone will have access to that. And I'm just grateful for this conversation. It was wonderful meeting you and chatting with you and just getting your insight and your perspective and just your attitude on people was really like people in general was really refreshing.
Cool.
Yeah. So thank you so much for connecting with me and being on the show.
Feelings mutual. There we go. It's a vibe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. There you go.
There you go. That's what it is. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening. Hope to catch you in the next episode. All original music produced by Stubborn Soul. You can find him on all music listening platforms at STBRNSAL.